Hi, good people. I hope you are well from where you are watching from. Welcome to Kate Ndongo Cafe. There is a quote by James Finch that says that the engineer has been and is a maker of history. Today, we are going to talk to a structural engineer. He's going to tell us about his experiences in this field. He's also going to tell us what someone has to do for them to be able to be successful in this career of structural engineering. Welcome to Kate Ndongo Cafe.
Thank you.
Tell us your name and tell us what you do.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the chance and opportunity. My name is Engineer Mburu Murage Eric, and I am a civil engineer and also a structural engineer. So combines both. And I'm also a contractor. Yes.
So tell us about some of the projects that you have been involved as a structural engineer and also as a civil engineer.
Largely maybe mentioned in the most recent times. We've built the Crisco Church Lanet.
Okay.
We also did the multi-purpose hall at Betty Mavity Roberts Education Center, and also another multi-purpose hall at Njoro Girls Secondary School. We also did the free area tarmacking of the free area roads in Nakuru, and previously the Bahati Center tarmacking, and numerous other projects, including solarization of government projects, and quite a big number, and churches, schools, and many more. Yes.
So give us a brief on the exact thing that you do as a structural engineer. When we want to construct maybe a building or a bridge or something like that, what exactly do you do?
What happens is that there are several stages before the structural engineer comes into play. Okay. We start with what we call the architectural engineer, who comes up with a drawing of whatever we are supposed to fabricate.
Okay.
And so the first thing that a structural engineer is supposed to be able to do is to be able to read the blueprint or the drawings of the architect. So once the architect has approved the documents at the county level and all the processes have completed, our job is to implement on the ground what the architect has drawn on the paper. So it's technically transferring from paper to actual construction of building.
Okay.
So the implementation part is where we come in. But of course, the process starts much further with the architectural. So therefore, in the study, when you are doing civil or structural engineering, you also have to be familiar with architectural engineering and the drawings. Then you are able to now come to the ground and implement the structures that have been drawn. There's also something called fabrication. Fabrication is where there are no specific drawings attached to, but due to the need of a particular structure, then you have to fabricate something to fit a particular need. That is now fabrication part of the structural engineering.
Okay.
So it's divided into many. It all falls majorly under civil engineering. Civil definitely means people, engineering that surrounds people or society or civilization. So that is where the word civil comes from.
Oh, okay.
So everything civil now, everything else falls under civil engineering. Yes.
So let me ask you a question. We have seen a number of times some buildings are constructed and then after some time they tend to fall. Or unaona imeinama. So maybe what could be the cause of such a thing?
A lot of times when such things happen, and I've been involved in one or the other, and especially I can mention the multi-purpose hall that I mentioned had been constructed previously by somebody else, and it collapsed. So we had to rescue it. So the process of construction doesn't begin on the ground, starts underground. And the first thing we do is the study of the soil, if the soil can hold the structure, and also can the ground support that particular structure that you are coming up with. And if it cannot, what can you add or what can you do to be able to support that building before you construct? So majorly what has happened in most of those buildings, you'll find that there was no involvement of civil engineers, or the checklists were not ticked properly, or there were oversights in some of the processes that are involved in the construction. So 90% are caused by oversights. There are also what we call human errors, and human errors happen majorly where specific rules and regulations are not followed, and that is due to unprofessionalism. And one such case is where the ratios of the mixtures, let's say, for example, the concrete, basically are not done properly and are done by untrained or unskilled laborers and without proper supervision. And those small oversights can accumulate. And when you have one problem and another, 2, 3 oversights, once they come together, they become a bigger problem. Maybe one of them will not cause a building to collapse, but when you have a series of them, then, it's what you say is a ticking bomb. You have one and another problem cumulatively cause the major structural failure. It's never one particular problem. It's always a number of problems. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you have been in this field for some years.
Yes.
And you have been involved in a number of projects, as you have told us.
Yeah.
So from your experience, what are these things that a person should keep on doing to be able to be successful in such a career that you are in?
One thing I would say is, for example, I did my diploma in civil engineering back in the year 2001. And over the years, even after being in different countries and being in different projects, there is a need to catch up with the new technology. So there's a need to go back consistently to school. And as I was showing you my certificate, you'll notice after the diploma, I still went back to school and did another degree in structural engineering. I also did 2 other diplomas quite recently on construction methodology and the new technologies that are coming up. What you knew in the year 2000 is no longer valid in the year 2020. So the biggest mistake is not to continue studying. You need to constantly refresh yourself, go back to school, catch up with the new technology, catch up with the new developments, and that is the only way you can be successful. Yes.
So for someone who has done a course like yours, they have to keep on upgrading their skills.
Yes, upgrading the skills is compulsory, and it's just like in medicine. The techniques that were used in medicine 5 years ago are not the same being used now. There's new technology emerging daily. And for example, the moment China is leading in technology and in new developments and new technology. And what we are doing now, there's a language barrier with the Chinese. So what happens is that you will notice that we are mostly doing our diplomas in Indian universities, because Indians are following very closely what the Chinese are doing, and we don't have a language barrier. That is one. The other thing is to have, you must be multi-talented. You cannot just stick there and say, I'm a civil engineer or I'm a structural engineer, and you don't know anything else. Under the structural engineer, you must be able to be talented in a number of things. And among them, when you break it down, like when you start construction of a house, you'll be dealing with plumbers, you'll be dealing with electricians, you'll be dealing with fitting, timber work, metal work, welding, all those things. So you have to familiarize yourself with each and every one of the other sub jobs. For example, for you to be a successful engineer in a site, you are supposed to be able to do plumbing equally as good or even better than the plumber that you've employed there. Otherwise, you will not get the respect that you deserve. And that means you'll have what we call downtime. That my plumber didn't come today, and therefore the project stalls. You're supposed to be able to step in and undertake that particular job, or even if you'll not do it physically, instruct what is to be done. If it's welding, you have to be very good in your welding, that nothing will stop. You can still continue and do the welding. When we are dealing with machinery, you have to be able to operate all the machines that are in that site. If you cannot operate because a forklift driver did not come in, or an excavator driver fell sick, then your site will go down. So you're supposed to be able to
Yeah.
jump into that forklift or jump into that excavator or backhoe or whatever, and keep the time going as you look for a solution. So that is the one thing that you have to do. And that is the multi-talent is one of the key to success. Yes.
I like that. Now, I want you to talk to a graduate who maybe graduated last year, who is doing civil engineering or structural engineering. Maybe they graduated recently, or those who are still in school and they are going to graduate very soon. So when someone graduates, they may not be able to know where to start. So I want you to talk to that graduate who graduated with the course same as yours. Where can they start for them to be able now to keep their career running? Where can someone start immediately after graduating?
One thing I will say is that, and I've seen that problem, is a lot of our young people get very comfortable once they get their certificate or degree, and they think, I'm done, I'm a civil engineer, and they walk into sites and declare themselves to be civil engineers. But without experience, there's very little you can be able to do. Secondly, there's the theory and the practical part of it. So what they do at school are more theory than practical. And out here is actual practice. So what I will encourage them is to not to aim so high. You cannot go to managerial level that you are site supervisor straight away. So you may want to start at the bottom of the chain where you can go into a site. Yes, present your papers as a civil engineer, but take any job that is offered in that site. If it's manual labor, start with that manual labor.
With a certificate?
Yes, with a diploma, even with a degree.
Okay.
Yes, even not a diploma, even with a degree. Walk into a construction site, present your papers, but take the manual job. It is from the manual job that an opportunity will occur. So one of these days, somebody, either the site engineer or site supervisor, will notice your skills and your ability, and that's how you'll be lifted up. And it's very difficult, like for me in my site, to pick a student who graduated with a degree and put him at a supervisory level. I can't. I would rather promote one of my old fundis who never went to school, but very knowledgeable in the actual work. And that is where they go wrong. I've had several of them come in with degrees and want to, with the blue collar job, which is it's not possible. It doesn't work like that.
So someone should be willing to start from anywhere that you are instructed to.
Anywhere.
Mtu asiseme nimesoma now I cannot just do anything.
That is the problem. You have to be there. The other thing that you should be able to do when you are young is to try and get as many multi-skills as possible.
Okay.
Just graduating with a civil engineering certificate will not help you. It is not something that as a site engineer I would not be looking at that as an addition to my site. I'll be looking at somebody who is multi-talented. I'll be looking at a plumber who can weld.
Okay.
I'll be looking at a driver who can plumb.
All right.
I'll be looking at a mason who can also do fitting. I'll be looking at multi-talent. Specialization is good, and I'm not saying it's bad to specialize on one thing, but I don't think our country is not yet at a level where if you specialize on only one talent, that it's gonna take you far. It is the ability to cut across the whole sector that makes you, takes you places. Yes.
All right. So we have the technical skills. Huh?
Yes.
So in addition to these technical skills, what other skills could you advise a person to have in addition now to knowing how to do the fitting and all that? What are these other skills that you can advise, especially a young person, to be able to acquire?
I will say at the moment, as the times have changed, one of the most important thing is also for somebody to have very good computer skills.
All right.
We are really moving very fast into digital world, whereby a lot of things are done digitally. Currently, when we go to sites, I have apps that I use and that help me do the calculations, help me knowing how many stones I need, how much cement I require, and do the costing and calculation. It's now all computerized.
Computerized.
So as I do all the others, I still do computer studies, and I try very much to catch up with the technology. There are so many apps that are there to assist you in your work. So engaging fully into IT and computers is very necessary. The other thing is language. If you can, as a young person, have an extra language, it's a big plus to you. And in this case, I would really encourage somebody to do Mandarin, Chinese, because if you walk into a site that is being managed, the Chinese are more and more going to be coming to Kenya. You cannot ignore 2 billion people, and they're great engineers. So if you can just have that linguistic link with them, you have a big plus than even a more qualified engineer who does not have that one-on-one with the Chinese contractors, because you can't ignore them. As much as we have our own contractors, they are game changer. Yes.
So that is so wonderful. Thank you for this information.
Yes.
So as we come to a conclusion, what is your message to our viewers, especially the young people, maybe those who have done a similar course, or even those who have done a different course? What would you like to tell them?
What I will say is that with the changing times, I would not want to tell somebody to be comfortable with what they've just done.
Okay.
I've done quite many courses in the process of time. So I have a degree in political science, history, and politics. And the more exposure you have, the more you are able to maneuver more in this world. And you need to be able to do more than just one field. So if you just say, I'm a civil engineer, and you stick with that, you will be frustrated over time. And you'll find us maneuvering into other businesses very easily because of being multi-talented in many other fields. The other thing I will ask them is to update themselves regularly with what is happening in the outside world and, outside their small circles. Because there's also that problem of just being into a small circle and dealing with just a few people. Just need to get out of that comfort zone, get out there, do something different. You say, I have a bakery here, which has really no connection with civil engineering, but it's you just need to move on and get do other things, get out of your comfort zone, get exposure. If you are called upon into a job that does not necessarily relate to your job, I would say go for it, do it. Your knowledge will not expire because you have gone into a different field. So do not stick there that you are strictly looking for a job with this one certificate. If you have an opportunity to go back to school, do as many courses as you can. Do as many. The more multi-talented you are, the more the market wants people like you. We don't want single talented people, not anymore. That is what I can advise them.
All right. So thank you so much, Mr. Murage, for coming and telling us about what you do. So our viewers, he has talked about many good things, and something that we have gotten from him, in addition to many other things, is that we need to get out of our comfort zones. We need to be exposed. We need to get more exposure, and we also need to have skills in different areas. So, twende kazi, let us get out of our comfort zones. So that is it for today. Until next time, bye bye.